Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about how to budget your money. This is a request that has been coming up quite frequently from my subscribers, so here it is. But if you are new here, I make videos on how to save money, where to invest your money, and how to become financially free. Please subscribe if you find value in today's video. And let's get started without any further delay. The first thing that you have to do before budgeting your money is to figure out what your take-home salary is. Now, this is very important because most people who work for a salary have an idea of what their gross salary is, but they don't know what their in-hand salary is. In fact, a lot of times when people move jobs, one of the things that they look at is the gross salary, and I understand why. Because let's say that your gross salary goes from $40,000 to $60,000. It sounds really good, right? But what really matters is what you get at the end of the month after all the deductions. So what you need to do is check your last 3 months of bank statements and figure out what is the amount that you get in your bank. Account every month after all the deductions have been made. That is your take-home salary. Now that you have figured out what your take-home salary is, you can divide your expenses into 2 categories. The first category is fixed expenses, and the second category is variable expenses. Fixed expenses are expenses that do not change every month. For example, your credit card bill, your rent or EMI, your insurance premiums, etc. Variable expenses are expenses that change every month. For example, groceries, eating out, shopping, etc. The next step is to make a list of all your expenses. Now, this is a step that a lot of people skip. They just go ahead and assume that I know all my expenses. But I can tell you from experience that when you actually sit down and write it out, you realize that there are so many small expenses that you are having every month. For example, Netflix, Spotify, Zomato Gold, Swiggy, etc. Also, this exercise will help you identify the leakages in your expenses. For example, you would be surprised to know how much you spend on Swiggy and Zomato every month. Once you have made a list of all your expenses, now sit down and categorize them into the categories that we discussed earlier, which is fixed expenses and variable expenses. After that, arrange these expenses in order of priority. The first thing you want to do is prioritize your expenses and then see how you can cut down on those expenses. For example, your food and groceries should come before shopping. The next thing you want to do is set financial goals. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't do. They just keep on spending their money without having any goals in mind. For example, let's say that you are planning to buy a car in the next 2 years. In that case, you should not be buying expensive clothes or accessories. Similarly, if you are planning to go on a vacation, then obviously you wouldn't be spending money on a lot of other things. So it's very important that you set financial goals and you also keep them in mind while you are making your budget. Now, this is very important. You have to keep aside some money for savings and investments. Now, this is something that a lot of people forget to do. They look at the amount that they get in their bank account at the beginning of the month and think that this entire amount is at their disposal. But that's not true. You have to keep aside some money for savings and investments. And if you are able to do that, then whatever is left can be spent on other things. While making your budget, you also want to keep in mind the inflation rate. Inflation rate is the rate at which prices are increasing every year. In India, the average inflation rate is around 6 to 7%. So keep that in mind while making your budget. If you don't keep that in mind and you make your budget in such a way that you are spending 1 lakh rupees per month, then next year you might need 1.06 lakh rupees. So keep that in mind while making your budget. Another thing you want to do is cut down on your variable expenses. Variable expenses are expenses that you can control. For example, you can cook food at home instead of ordering it from outside. You can use public transport instead of driving your own car. You can buy things during sales instead of buying them at the MRP. There are so many ways in which you can cut down on your variable expenses. Next, avoid lifestyle inflation. Now, this is very important. A lot of times what happens is when you start earning more, you start spending more. For example, let's say that your salary goes from $20,000 to $30,000. In that case, you might start eating out more often, or you might start shopping more often. But that's not a good idea. You should not be spending more just because you are earning more. Keep your lifestyle the same. Even if you are earning 10 times more, keep your lifestyle the same. This is very important. The next thing you want to do is increase your income. Now, this is also very important. A lot of people think that if they are not able to save money, then the only way is to cut down on their expenses. But that's not true. If you are not able to save money, then either cut down on your expenses or increase your income. Or both. So, think about ways in which you can increase your income. For example, you can ask for a salary hike, or you can take up a part-time job. You also need to distinguish between needs and wants. A need is something that you need to survive, right? Food, clothing, and shelter are needs. Wants are things that you want, but you don't need them to survive. For example, a car is a want. You can manage with a two-wheeler or public transport, but a car is a want. Shopping is a want. You don't need to buy new clothes every month, but it's a want. So it's very important that you distinguish between needs and wants and then spend your money accordingly. Now, this is something that's very important. You have to track your expenses. A lot of times what happens is people make a budget at the beginning of the month and then they don't track their expenses. So at the end of the month, they don't know whether they have overspent or not. So it's very important that you track your expenses. You can do this by using a budgeting app, or you can do this manually as well. You can just note down all your expenses in a notebook. But whatever you do, make sure that you are tracking your expenses. So these are the steps that you can follow to budget your money. Now, there is no one-size-fits-all approach to budgeting. You have to customize it according to your needs. You have to see what works out for you. So experiment with different things and see what works out for you. If you are looking for a simple and easy way to budget your money, then I would suggest you to use the 50-30-20 rule. The 50-30-20 rule is a budgeting method in which you allocate 50% of your money to needs, 30% of your money to wants, and 20% of your money to savings and investments. You can use this rule as a starting point, and then you can customize it according to your needs. I would also suggest you to use a monthly budget planner. A monthly budget planner is a tool that will help you track your income and expenses. You can use a physical planner, or you can use a digital planner. If you are using a digital planner, then there are so many apps available. You can use any of those apps. That's all from my side for today. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. Share this video with your friends and family, and also subscribe to my channel. I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.